War in Syria has killed over 100,000 people and driven 9 million more from their homes, creating a massive humanitarian crisis. In a 15-0 vote, the United Nations Security Council passed a resolution on Saturday demanding full access to war-torn Syria for humanitarian aid. CCTV's Jim Spellman joins us now with more on this. Jim?
And this resolution won't stop the fighting, but it could bring some much-needed relief to Syria.
The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously.
The resolution aims to ease the suffering of the Syrian people after 3 years of brutal civil war.
We are all keenly aware of the profound and prolonged desperation of the Syrian people. If this resolution is implemented quickly and in good faith, at least some of the suffering can be eased.
The resolution calls for unhindered access for UN humanitarian agencies, demilitarization of hospitals, schools, and other civilian facilities, and condemns the rise of al-Qaeda-affiliated terrorism.
Council members and the wider UN membership must themselves do what they can to pressure the Syrian authorities and the opposition groups to implement it. The resolution has made very clear the Council's expectations that its demands will be met and that there will be consequences for non-compliance.
The resolution calls for, quote, further steps if either the government or the opposition fails to comply, but does not detail what those steps may be. Security Council permanent members, China and Russia, vetoed 3 previous UN resolutions that condemned the Syrian government and called for sanctions, but joined this resolution which blames both the Syrian government and the opposition for the humanitarian crisis. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Qin Gang said, "We support the international community to uphold the principle of neutrality and justice." The UN will issue a progress report every 30 days on this resolution. If either the Syrian government or the opposition is found to be non-compliant, the Security Council will decide what further steps, if any, may be appropriate on it.
Jim, last week, the Geneva II peace talks, there are peace talks going on, but they ended with no real progress between the Syrian government and the opposition. So as far as that part of it, the peace process, what's going to happen next?
The chief mediator of the talks, UN and Arab League envoy Lakhdar Brahimi, he'll come to the UN in New York next week, hoping to find a new path forward on negotiations. Those talks are currently hung up primarily over the idea of forming a transitional government that would exclude current Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Both sides have agreed to more talks, but no date has been set for round 3. I think it speaks a lot that you had both the Russians and the Chinese join in this Security Council resolution vote. That, along with the Americans and the Russians coming together with this plan that began late last year to remove the chemical weapons from Syria, show that there's at least more international consensus that the humanitarian aspect of this civil war needs to be addressed. So maybe that'll create the pressure that they need to jumpstart these talks on it.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Jim Spellman there on the latest in Syria.